Well, good evening. Welcome to Radnor Memorial Library. Thank you all for coming. My name is Pam Sador, and I do appreciate you taking time out of your evening to sit and Zoom with us and the Rotary Club of Wayne. And tonight, before I introduce the president-elect, Doug Lazy, I'd like to tell you the name of the event is Do's and Don'ts of Home Building and Home Remodeling. And it is presented by Radnor Memorial Library and Rotary Club of Wayne. Radnor Memorial Library is very proud to partner with Rotary Club of Wayne, part of Rotary International, the global service organization that honors all vocations and professions in its local community. And Rotary, thank you for your service. And that includes Doug, our president-elect. I am pleased to introduce Doug. Doug is an attorney, and he has taught and lectured on environmental topics in the US and in Europe. He is very active in the Rotary Club of Wayne, and Doug is its new president-elect, and he is our moderator this evening. Again, thank you all for coming. I'm going to hand it over to Doug, and if everyone would stay muted, we'll put stuff in the chat at the end of the event. And but right now you're going to hear from Doug Lazy, and Doug will introduce our panel this evening. Okay, thank you all for coming. Hi, Doug. Doug.
He may have bumped himself off. I'm not sure.
Oh, you think so? Yeah. Oh no, here he comes.
Oh, here he comes.
Here he is. Okay, Doug will be here. I just let him in the room.
Again, good.
Oh, there you go. Hi, Doug. There you are.
All right, briefly.
Everything's fine. Everything's wonderful. I'm glad we're here.
But we're all right. Ready?
Go ahead, Doug.
All right. Well, thank you, Pam. Folks in the audience and our participants, this is the first time we have tried a joint session with the Radnor Memorial Library. We are Rotarians. I'm a member of the Wayne Rotary Club, and Stacy, one of our speakers, is from the Upper Main Line Rotary. And the concept and one of the values in Rotary is to use our vocations in service of our communities and others. And so we conceive that we could hopefully identify issues of concern to our community that they might like to learn something or hear something about. And Pam kindly said the library often hears that remodeling and renovation, home renovation, is a very, very hot topic in the town. So we chose that for our first one. And so I'm going to introduce our speakers in a moment and then let them tell you a little about what they do and their perception on these issues. And then we're going to soon look for questions and respond to things of interest to you. And if you like this format, I hope in the future, we might look at financial literacy, for example. What do both young people need to know and what do us old geezers need to know about financial management? And then right? And then we were thinking about insurance, which is not commonly known to everybody. I talk to young people and I said, you have a tenant's policy? Do you have an excess policy? They don't have any idea what I'm talking about. So we're thinking we can use vocations and our knowledge to help the community learn more about things that are important to them. So tonight our topic is building and renovation and some of the issues involved. And our speakers, our panelists, if you will, in their alphabetical order, starts with Miss Stacy Ballard, who is she's very much younger. She certainly looks very youthful than she might really be, and is the current president of EDAW Enterprises. And those of you from Radnor or from the main line have commonly seen EDAW Enterprises signs on many, many buildings when they are either for let or rented. And Ernest EDAW was a Wayne Rotarian, very active in historic preservation and his community, and very much, I think, would be enjoy us doing this program. And Stacy, when she is going to will answer any question you've got, But as a commercial builder, they're very aware of code requirements, zoning, building permits, and when something moves from a mere repair that you can get any fella or gal to come in and do to something requiring a permit is something Stacy knows a lot about. I'm sure Lenny does as well, but and my brother, but we'll let that go. Lenny Berger is actually works in Virginia, I think it is his home base. He's been in the high-tech industry for years, and then about over a decade ago started this home remodeling and repair enterprise. And he kind of sees himself between the general contractor arena and the handyman arena. So when it's too big for a handyman, but is not yet, from the ground up on a subdivision level, Lenny works on that. So he's very aware of problems you run into in older homes, what may also be permits issues, but how to deal with complexity in a renovation, what's desirable in a renovation, and how to get the best value for it and shop around. And then I asked my brother, who has worked both in the Northeast, he started in New England area and eventually migrated south. He's worked in construction materials and building materials for many years. He's worked in sales and design for folks, and he's Florida-based now. So he has a perception of how what people do changes with where you are. People down there don't have basements. People down there have very active homeowners associations, which are not as common up here. So if you're going south or going west, you may run into different circumstances than you face here. But I think my brother Dennis has a really good eye for what lasts, what provides real value and safety and security for homeowners, and some of the subtle distinctions between hardwood floors and tiles and who likes what and when. So those are the three panelists. And if you've got questions for any of them, please, I would suggest you put it first in the chat room so we can see. We'd ask you to stay muted until Pam or I recognizes you, and then unmute and ask your question. We'd rather hear from you directly. But we thought we'd start by asking each of the panelists to take a couple minutes and share with you their experience and their perspective on this broad topic. So let's start. Stacy, you're on.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm Stacy Ballard. I'm with Eda Enterprises, and we're in Berwyn. As Doug said, we are a commercial and residential developer and manager, and we own and manage our own properties in the mainline area predominantly. And we do have some commercial properties and residential properties in Key West and Florida as well. But so the long and the short of this is, there's interior renovations and there's exterior renovations. And certainly there's times when a permit is necessary and there's times when a permit is not necessary. And a lot of people will ask, well, when do I need a permit? And I think the rule of thumb is if you're changing something out for something you already have, like, I have a chandelier and I'm having an electrician come in and put a chandelier in and replacing it, you probably don't need a permit. You're putting a new roof on, you probably need a permit, and your roofer should get that for you. It is negotiable whether the homeowner or the contractor gets the permit, but you should be clear on that. And if you're ever not sure, the best thing to do is go online, look on the website for the township that you're in, and look under permits. And you can find out that there's sign permits and fence permits and pool permits, and you're going to do your sidewalk. And, and people look at permits and think, oh my God, what a pain in the neck that is. It's an added expense and it can be pretty costly. But it is also a way to regulate what you're doing to your home to make sure that it is appropriate and zoning is appropriate, and you're not going to get in trouble later when you go to sell a house and all of a sudden they see that you've done things and maybe not quite the way they should be done, and the gentleman on our panel can talk about that a little bit too. But it's also to make sure that your contractor has the appropriate licensing and insurance. So if they screw something up and your roof caves in or your plumbing bursts, that there is someone who can be responsible for that liability, that not just necessarily your homeowner. So it's really, the township's websites in our area tend to be very helpful, and fairly easy to navigate. And then if you're really not sure, you can always call and talk to one of the gals or one of the guys in the township in zoning or in the permitting, or even sometimes the admins know what types of things you need permits for, and they can send you paperwork on an email if you need it. As far as outside things go, if you're putting an addition on your house, if you're putting a pool in, if you're putting a fence in, you absolutely need permitting. However, if you're doing additions like that to your home, and Lenny can talk about that a little bit more, oftentimes you need to have a survey done of your home. You'll need to have an architect do a drawing and have a stamped architectural drawing that has a lot of information that you look at and think, this is crazy. Why do I need all this? I'm just putting a little 10 by 10 room on the back of my house. But it really is to make sure that you're meeting certain building codes. And it's really a lot about safety and fire safety too. So the other thing is, depending on if you're putting an addition or a pool or a fence, they want to make sure that you're not, you're within the building envelope, that there isn't additional zoning relief needed, and an architect or a surveyor can help with a lot of that information, as well as a good contractor. So that's my part of this, is really, when do you need a permit? When what is and what isn't a permit. I mean, obviously, if you're painting and carpeting and doing things like that, interior finishes typically don't need a permit at all. But you're going to put a new garage door on. I don't think you need a permit for that. You probably should check, but I don't think so. But if you're going to put a deck on the back, you do need a permit. It's interesting because sometimes there's questions about impervious surface on your property. So they count out how much the house occupies, how much the sidewalk occupies, how much, and make sure that you're not over that. And if you have a deck, I believe a deck is considered a pervious surface, that rain will come down, it will go through the slats and go into the ground. But if you put a roof over your deck now becomes an impervious surface, and you need to consider that in your calculations on your existing property. So and in that case, there's a lot of rules that apply, and that's where a good architect or an engineer can help with those things as well. So I think that answers my questions, right?
Yeah, well, great start. And then let's go turn to Lenny. And thank you, Lenny. We really appreciate you making this effort. Go for it.
My pleasure. So my name is Lenny Berger. I'm the owner of Handyman Home Remodeling. So we do a lot of mid-sized remodeling projects. Kind of our niche is, we don't add space to your house. We make the space that you have work better for you. So we've done everything from move load-bearing walls, move your kitchen, your bathroom around, things like that, open concrete in basements, that type of project. So I've known Stacy for 25 years, so she asked me to participate in this. So even though I'm in Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., but most jurisdictions around the United States are actually governed by the International Building Code or Remodeling Code, and then every jurisdiction adopts some form of that. So the important thing is that the reason that we have these codes is to have consistent building standards, especially for safety, for usability. And what I find is that when we're out there talking to new customers, that the customers are not always aware of exactly what all the rules are and how to make sure that certain things are done safely. So when we put together proposals for clients, we always do very detailed proposals. We have selections. We're always using our licensed electrician or licensed plumber. those are things which make the budget have to go up, but in the end, they're better value. So when you're interviewing contractors, one of the things I always tell people first is, well, don't just get references, because who's going to give you bad references? You need to ask kind of the next level of questions, which are things like, well, how are you insured? So for example, we carry a type of insurance called workman's compensation. That's the insurance that if one of my people gets hurt at your house, they can't sue you as the homeowner. That is a very easy indication of the type of contractor you're dealing with. And some contractors might try to tell you that they don't need it, but I'm pretty sure, I think even in Pennsylvania, that contractors are required to have workman's compensation insurance, whether they use subcontractors or not. The second thing is when you pull a permit, what that gives you as the homeowner is the peace of mind that somebody from your township is going to come and inspect that work and know that it's done correctly. I think one of the biggest mistakes that customers make when they're initially looking at projects is that their first assumption is everything is going to go right, and that they get very attracted by the lowest cost price, the person who's 30% less than everybody else, but you're getting a little one-page proposal, there's no real detail, and all of a sudden, not only is there a lot of misunderstanding, but the same guys installing the tile in your bathroom are also doing the electrical work and making the plumbing connections. And that's not a good idea. And your area is a lot like ours in terms of the mixed age of the houses. So when I go in, I'm looking for different things when a house is from the 50s and 60s, and I know there's decades of bubblegum wiring and plumbing than I am if a house is only 10 or 15 years old. So that devil is in the details. And while there's a lot of things like if you do a pull and replace bathroom, a lot of times you're not required to have a permit there. But what I always tell clients is I'm still using my licensed electrician, my licensed plumber, because they're going to make sure that everything is safe, done to code, and it's not unusual that we open walls and find problems. So, right now we do a lot of structural work. We actually are doing a repair at a client's house that an unlicensed contractor had come in and removed the load-bearing wall holding up the entire second floor of this home. And these poor people bought this house. They didn't realize this had happened, but it's a good example of when you use people that don't understand what they're doing, all of a sudden problems happen 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road. So having that level of detail that's there in the beginning really helps problems. What kind of team does that contractor have? Are you using a licensed electrician, plumber? What kind of insurance? And then when the project requires, then pulling a permit, and then making sure. The other thing that you have to be careful of is pulling a permit is not enough. It's the first step. A very common thing that we see, I'm not sure how the permitting steps work in your particular jurisdiction, but here we will see things where somebody will go pull a permit and then never do any of the inspections. So asking for proof that the contractor passed inspections and you tie payments to doing that is another important step, because we have seen cases where somebody has lived in a house, sold it after 20 years to only find out that the addition that they had a permit, but the inspections were never actually completed. And now they have to kind of deal with all of that, because usually they don't do the inspections when they're taking lots of shortcuts along the way. So
I will
Yeah.
say,
Lenny, that's interesting, and maybe Stacy can comment on that at this point as well. But I thought once you, if you will, pulled the permit, around here, they would kind of set it up and track it a little bit, but maybe the municipality doesn't, and it expects the owner or the contractor. Am I still being heard? Did somebody wave, or I'm frozen?
At the end of the day, you as the homeowner are responsible for the work done on your house. So
yeah, I mean, the one thing to keep in mind is that There is
Okay,
usually a
let's see if it
schedule
works.
of inspections that you can get at the township. So if a permit's been pulled and you want to know like, and exactly what Lenny said, finding some of those payments, certain inspections being completed, can certainly
Going out.
Yeah.
tracked.
I can't imagine it's that different, but I can tell you, like our area has like 5 different jurisdictions because of the different counties and townships here. And none of them track what they call open permits. So typically by the building code, you have to have activity on a permit every 180 days or it becomes invalid. And but during that, usually what we'll see if somebody has question about old work, the jurisdiction we do the most work in, we can pull their address up online and then we'll see permit was administratively archived because of lack of activity, but they don't go out and pursue that unless somebody files a complaint, which is like in the case of the missing load bearing wall. That's what happened was the new homeowner had to file a complaint, and then that starts like a whole other process. But I would always ask for proof that they passed the inspections.
Right.
Doug, you're muted.
All right. I've got some follow-up for you eventually, Lenny, but let's go to Dennis in the short run. And Dennis from Florida. Right now we got a storm and rain here, so I hope you're going to tell us. I'm sure it's beautiful weather, but we'd love to hear from you about your experience and your perceptions of how things change as you move around the country.
Dennis, please unmute yourself. Dennis, who tonight is going by Jeannie. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good name. I like that. It's my middle name.
That's his wife's name, so he somehow.
Yeah. Okay. We need Dennis to. Oh, here we go. Okay, Dennis, I need you to unmute.
And Pam, you may be able to unmute him too.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There he goes. Thank you.
I told you it was Jeannie's laptop. My experiences are more of a layman. I've never been a remodeler, but I've worked in the remodeling industry as an operations running stores in the Boston area, as well as a buyer. I did the same for about 10 years. Moved down to Florida. I've been did that for a couple of years down here. And the last 19 years, I've been selling for 3 custom builders in an area called Lakewood Ranch, which is the largest master planned multi-generational community in the country. It's about 50 square miles. Currently, when I started there, we had about 1,000 homes. There's over 19,000 homes. Build out's going to be about 38,000 homes. So it's a large complex. So my experiences are more coming from the sales side, although I have dealt with contractors my whole life, was involved in remodeling. So I can speak of, it's a little different in Florida. We have certain codes. HOAs are very strong down here in most of our communities. So when we talk about an exterior home, we have to have photographs. We have to take samples of what we're doing. We take it to the architecture review board. Sometimes they meet weekly, sometimes it's monthly, and they'll come back with suggestions. We have to do the same thing when we were a custom builder, and we had to have everything approved by the HOA, anything exterior, landscape plan as well. So that was an approval process that you may not have to do up in some of your areas. The other thing in Florida, a little different, we have lien law. So I'm in the process right now of replacing my 22-year-old cement tile roof. The codes have changed in Florida dramatically, have changed a lot of what we do in remodeling in Florida. The biggest exterior projects right now are roofs are getting old. The wind laws have wind load laws have changed. So a lot of the insurance company and carriers are now requiring you to replace the roof when it gets to a certain age in order to have insurance. So that can be a major project. Hurricane windows has come into its own in the last 13, 14 years here in Florida. Huge remodeling project here in Florida. Probably doesn't, other than when I was in the Boston area where we were starting to go to a lot of insulated windows. Hurricane is another big issue in Florida. We don't remodel basements. Most of us don't have basements. We may have we don't have attics. Room additions are a little different down here. We don't, our home sites in most cases don't allow for a lot of room additions because of our setbacks. And again, a room addition would require permitting by the Architecture Review Committee and then going in to the process of doing the permit, making sure you meet all the codes. The one thing I found interesting is some of the people come to me and say, well, my first question is this remodel something you're going to be in this home for the next 5 years, or are you remodeling it to sell it? And that's what's going on in Florida. There's more remodels going on in the home to get it rated for market because we're exploding down here than just living in the home for the next 5, 10 years to make it comfortable. So I approach that answer with doing simpler things like curb appeal, front door, landscaping, painting the house, cleaning the roof, maybe kitchen's always important to a lot of people, maybe changing the counters, the appliances, making sure your air conditioner's up to code, certain things like that without doing that. If it's going to be more long-term in the new home sales, I would suggest you do the things that are structurally now. You can always put wood floors in the bedrooms, but start with carpet if you don't have money. But put windows in that you want, put in your kitchen that you want. You can do build-ins later. You can add crown molding later to add value. Outdoor kitchens, I always pre-wire. Wet bars, I pre-plumb and pre-wire for. So you can set up for things as, a lot of new couples. But the other interesting comment I made to my brother earlier this week, people don't upsize. If they upsize, they don't generally add addition. They move to another home. When people in Florida right now, I'm going through a lot of home buyers that I sold custom homes to anywhere from 3,000 square feet. Some of them are over 8,000 and 9,000 square feet, are now downsizing. The kids have left the home. They don't want the media room anymore. They don't want the stairs. They don't need 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. They want one level, simplified living. And a lot of the styles have changed in Florida. The open plan in Florida, where we don't have a family room, dining room, and living room, has caused a major change on the interior remodeling of a home. Most of that, unless you're getting into a kitchen, don't require a lot of permits unless you're starting, as Lenny was talking about, load-bearing walls. That would require permitting. So it's a whole different little thing than what I'm hearing about when I lived in the Northeast. My father remodeled a basement. We never pulled a permit. And you don't have to pull a permit down here if you change your faucet or change your toilet. But with the roof, I just had to sign a permit, had to be notarized. The county permit board will be outside the house, and we'll have county inspectors come and verify that roof is going up per code in the different stages. And that was the same thing with construction building. That permit board was always in front of every new house I sold for the last 19 years. And the county people would come by at slab, at rough in, at framing, at drywall, whatever, mechanics, all those things were always signed off. Even in pool permits were separate from the house. So there was a permit for the pool, permit for the house. So the other thing, and I'll get off here in a minute, is on the remodel that I found is we have a 50% cost value of the home. So let's say you have a 50s home on Siesta Key, 2,200 square feet. You want to bring it up to code. That property itself is now worth $1 million just for the sand. You're going to tear down the house. The house may be only worth $200,000. If you spend more than half the value of the house, not the land, then you have to bring that whole house up to codes today.
Huh, that's interesting.
Okay, electrical,
That's-
plumbing,
that's
everything
a lot.
up to today's code.
Denny,
I lost you. Yeah,
There-
go ahead.
I'll tell you what, there's 2 questions over here in the chat. we'll go with the first one in order. And this is probably a Lenny question.
Good.
How do I know if I need a contractor or a handyman to do my work? How would you qualify that as differences?
Okay, so the first thing is, and I'm pretty sure this is the same in your area, but like in the state of Virginia, anybody who does other work for somebody other than themselves or an immediate family member has to be a licensed contractor. So even if you're a handyman, you still have to be licensed, you still have to carry insurance. So always ask for that, especially if you're dealing with the Joe in the pickup
We're
truck.
not getting anything.
Where you kind of cross the line comes into the
I don't
complexity.
know what's going on.
So in our area, I know handymen that just like they'll swap out lights and they'll change a faucet. And then I know other ones that would remodel the whole bathroom. And so a lot of it really kind of comes down
He's
to
not letting us
what-
leave.
what are your expectations in terms of the quality of the work, whether or not you're dealing with a real company versus an individual. And then also when you're remodeling, let's say a bathroom or a kitchen, you want to make sure that things are brought up to current code. So for example, if you're living in a house that's 30, 40 years old, you remodel a kitchen, the electrical requirements for a modern kitchen are vastly different. A lot of times what we'll see is the handyman type person or company will be jury rigging to those existing connections instead of replacing them to current code. Whereas when I bring in my licensed electrician, if I said to him, hey, don't worry about that, just hook to what's there, he would look at me like I had lost my mind. So we always want to make sure that those things are done properly. And the older your home, I think it's more important when you start doing a lot of electrical, a lot of plumbing. But I've had people call me and, say, well, I was talking to a handyman about replacing my electrical panel. And I pretty much tell them that I think that that's really a very dangerous thing to do because, for example, upgrading an electrical panel is not just swapping that box you see. There's also grounding requirements and other things. And again, back to that concept of, as a homeowner, you tend to believe things are going to go correctly. As a contractor, having seen lots of other bad workmanship, I know when things go wrong.
So one of the questions here is considering redoing my master bath. Sounds like I need a contractor. So it sounds like if you're just swapping out like a faucet, or what about if you're swapping out a vanity and all you're doing is undoing the fixtures and putting a new vanity on?
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually a good one. So the question becomes well, what is coming out of what's going in? So your vanity coming out probably just has 2 doors on it. And when you open it, you see all the plumbing on the back wall. When you get a new vanity, people are like, boy, I really like a lot better storage. And then all of a sudden now the plumbing has to line up with where all the drawers are in this new vanity. That's one where the handyman tends to start either hacking up the cabinet or jury rigging the plumbing. And we've actually seen situations where somebody has had their house flooded because the drawer kept hitting the shutoff valve, and eventually the shutoff valve broke when somebody was not home and ended up cascading water through their whole house. So when you look at things like that, what I find is that there are some good professional handyman companies, but when you have somebody that's a handyman and you're going to swap the vanity.
I don't know if I can be heard. Pam, we've lost, everything's frozen. We think we have lightning. We don't know what's going on.
Oh, Doug, I'm sorry to hear that, but I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
So sometimes swapping out a vanity is a case where you want to bring a plumber in if the plumbing in the wall needs to be moved.
So the other question of that is, how do you find out ratings on contractors versus like just recommendations? Or how do people, what do you think the best way is to find someone?
So the best way is actually getting most of our business comes through networking and referrals.
Yeah.
So we do get business off of our trucks and off of Google. Online reviews are certainly a good start, but at the end of the day, what really matters is the contractor actually solving your particular needs. So, for example, we don't do what we call labor only type projects. We always provide all the materials because it's a fair amount of project managing the project correctly, right? Making sure we have everything we need, it's staged when we need it, things like that. If you want to be able to go, hey, here's the keys to my house, get it done, call me if you have a problem, that's a different type of contractor than, all right, I'm going to get all the stuff there for you. You're just going to hook up to what's there. That contractor's probably this level of service. Both of those contractors could have very good online reviews, but they're offering two very different levels of service. So decide what's important to you. And the more things that are getting swapped out, so a handyman installing a tile backsplash is probably fine. A handyman starting to install like tile in a shower, so. Handyman, I want a heated floor. Now you're crossing into a contractor because most handyman are going to start jury rigging the electrical heating element to the existing bathroom outlet, and that's a big no-no. So any wall moves should definitely be done by a contractor, whether they're load bearing or not.
Okay. Okay. For our realtor, here's a question. Can you give us a list of remodeling things to do to sell? Like, what are things that you think are like, you said curb appeal, but also like just things that are sexy that people walk in and go, yeah, I got to have this house.
Well, I've got those lists. And they're different up there than here. But down here, the quickest thing in Florida, because I've sold 8 homes between 3 in New York, Maryland, 3 down here, and 2 in Massachusetts. So I've practiced that myself. But as a general realtor for Premier Sotheby's, it's the first 15 seconds when you pull up to that curb. Somebody in my car, wife will say, look at her husband, nope, next home. To eliminate that, you want simple little things, the yard cut, trees pruned. Some of these older homes, you can't even see the house through the forest. You've seen it on remodel TV. They go in and all of a sudden this house appears because they've taken down 40 years worth of growth. The plants are over the roof. Mm-hmm. Coat of paint, fresh flowers in the yard. The number one value to get your back is the front door. If the front door is not painted or looks outdated or not inviting, that's one of the things. Roof cleaned in Florida is very important because our tile roofs collect mold. Every couple of years, you need to pressure wash those, different up there. But down here, pulling up to a house where you can see a dirty roof is another eye opener to most general real estate people, saying that house is not being cared for, just like an unkept lawn. A dirty driveway, leaves in the driveway, brick. Most of us want brick driveways here. They do collect mold over time. They do need to be pressure washed. I never pressure washed an asphalt driveway in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, or New York in 50 years I lived there. But down here we do. So those are things real quick on the outside. Inside, same thing. Clean carpet, clean the tile. If the wood floor needs a little buffing up, get it buffed. Take clutter out of the house, simple little things without paying any money, but mostly it's just paint, lighting. If the light bulbs are dim, if the light fixtures need to be replaced, little things like that. The other major thing in the house is the first thing the woman looks for in the kitchen is new appliances. Mm-hmm. And the second thing may be the countertops. The cabinets down here, we're not removing them all as much as we used to because we're doing a lot of refacing now. If the kitchen layout is working for them, or they'll paint the existing cabinets. There's a lot of companies coming up now and painting. Of course, we can always replace the cabinets, but when you start ripping everything out, it's more expensive than just refacing or painting. So those are simple things in the house to add value without spending a lot of money. Because I went through that down here and we had carpet and tile. Some people I know were taking all the carpet up and all the tile and replacing wood floors. I said, well, why would you do that? Well, we like wood floors, but you're selling the house. The person coming in here may not want that wood floor. And you've just spent $40,000 and you're not going to get back on the house. Certain things you get back in a house is new air conditioners, new roof, new windows, rescreen your pool. Those are almost front door. Those are things you can add value to the home. The other things like the color of the cabinets and the color of the floors don't add a lot of value to the home initially, my impression. New homes are a little different, but that's for resale, that's pretty important.
So
And then, of course, the layout of the home is always important.
do you think painting is going to make a big difference? I mean, as far as
Absolutely.
colors, so many of us pick our I love yellow, or I love blue, or I love my dark red dining room. Does it make sense to go through and just like make everything light gray or everything light beige, or what do you think in that?
Well, the homes that are selling faster, including all the model homes that I've sold for the different builders, have always been lighter colors. We don't use much wallpaper. Occasionally we'd use wallpaper in a small powder bath or a laundry. Wallpaper down here is a turnoff to a lot of people because it's very expensive to remove it well.
Right.
Bright, bold colors are wonderful, maybe as an accent in a den or a small room, but the overall houses in Florida, I could walk you through 1,000 homes down here tomorrow, and they'd be light colors and maybe an accent wall in a niche or a small room, but the general house is all going to be a lighter color, and that's what's typically working in Florida. Now, I grew up in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and my working career was in New York, and we had wallpaper, we had bright colors, but that's not what's going on in Florida. And if you look at what's going on in Florida, we're probably selling more new homes in Florida than New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts combined. We never had community like Lakewood Ranch anywhere I ever lived in my life. When you can put up 40,000 new homes within 50 square miles. I mean, Massachusetts, we were still building on King George's land where I lived in Plymouth.
So how about for a new kitchen? So let's say you're going to put your house up for sale in the next 5 years, but you kind of want to do something to your kitchen, but you don't want to spend $40,000. So I ask you, and I ask Lenny, like, Lenny, what would you say to a customer if I'm the one that comes in and says that?
Yeah, so our most popular question tend to come from new clients that are saying, I'm going to sell in 5 years.
Yeah.
So I want to enjoy it, but I want to make sure I pick things that are still going to appeal and be updated. So right now in our area, the market is so ridiculously hot that you really literally have to do nothing to fix up your property to be able to sell it. But in a few years, when the market changes, the prices people will have different expectations. So the first thing we always say, to kind of Doug's point, is that that we depersonalize. So wallpaper, window treatments, the blue shag carpeting, all of that is personalized. So the whole goal when you're selling is that they have to see beyond how you live in the house.
Right.
And it's really about how they're going to live in the house. So if you have too much furniture in that one room, if you've picked very personalized things in your kitchen or your bathroom, if you're staying 10 or 20 years and you want me to put in hot pink tile, God bless you, and we'll do it. If you're only going to stay 3 to 5 years, then we're going to really kind of push you more towards something that's a timeless style. Things like painted cabinets in our area that works in a more budget grade townhouse, a condo. It doesn't work in a $1 million home, because those buyers tend to be educated about things. In a more modest home, You can have stainless steel appliances, but they can be different brands. At $1 million plus in our area, clients are looking at the brands of the appliances when they're coming through. You want to pick things that are going to be in style going forward. So it'll cost you a little more, but buy quartz countertops rather than Santa Cecilia or Ubatuba granite, because those are now really very much out of style, and it's going to look really out of style in 5 years. Buy new cabinets, but don't go overboard in terms of the quality or the style. The downside of painting your cabinets now to sell in 3 to 5 years is that the paint's going to flake off at some point. Most painters that paint cabinets it's not a factory finish. Because if we have done factory finished level work on site for people, I might as well just put new cabinets in your 10 by 10 kitchen. So if we get you more budget grade cabinets, put quartz on top, and then make sure that you have newer appliances, something that's not going to break in 5 years. Those are the most common things we do. And now you get to enjoy it, and there's plenty to pick from, but I put on a different hat. So if you pick that hot pink tile for your backsplash, I'll probably go, hey, let's talk about that. And if that's going to meet your resale objective versus the nice basic like marble backsplash, things like that are going to appeal to people and have a much more timeless feel.
Nice.
Lenny, a question for you. From earlier, when you talked about insurance coverage, you didn't talk about liability coverage. I thought your point on workman's comp was very interesting as a protective device for the homeowner, but you also need to have the contractor needs liability coverage.
Yes, so most people ask the wrong question to a contractor. The question most commonly asked is, are you insured? That is the wrong question. The right question is, what kind of insurance do you carry and how much? So the state minimums for insurance are very low, and a better quality contractor will always carry more than the state minimums and carry probably an umbrella policy. So a good example I give is, so somebody's like, well, why do you carry so much insurance? And I said, well, so I'm working in a condo building on the 16th floor and something goes wrong on a bathroom remodel, I'm going to be a little more liable than the $20,000 bathroom remodel I just did. There's going to be a lot of money to be paid out. We work in a lot of higher end homes in our area. The state minimums aren't going to cut protecting our clients. And the other reason we carry a lot is we get a lot of our referrals come from bigger general contractors that don't do the small to medium sized projects. So these are people putting $300,000 to $500,000 additions on people's houses or doing $300,000 kitchens. They're not going to refer their clients to us if we're a ship in the night, because we're going to give them a black eye. So when they hear that we are well insured and we carry liability, good auto, the workman's comp, all of that is important. I can tell you in all the years I've been in business, I've only ever had 2 people actually proactively ask me if I carried workman's comp. And I said, of course, I'm happy to give you my certificate of insurance. And then I said, I'm just curious why you asked me that question. Both of them were because they had had somebody fall off their roof previously. And you as the homeowner can be liable for that accident if your contractor is not properly insured. Whereas when I carry workman's comp, that immediately removes the ability of somebody getting hurt from suing you, the homeowner. And like here in Virginia, you have to have it with just either 2 employees or subcontractors. It is a incorrect assumption that because the person uses subs, that they don't have to carry workman's comp. That is completely incorrect, because that subcontractor could still come back and sue the contractor or sue you, the homeowner. And when I have workman's comp, that means either I have to pay for my subs or my subs have to have their own, which means that I have better quality subs than the guy who's working off the back of his truck.
Stacy, I've got a question for you. And Pam, are there questions from the audience? We ought to say, make sure we've answered.
There's a question from Tracy.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. I am looking through the chat and
Tracy, I think had one.
and Stacy answered and referred them also. And fresh paint, we talked about that. Anyone else, if you'd like to unmute yourself?
I think there was one that just came in. Somebody had asked about a bathroom.
Okay, let's go back to that.
If
Or
someone's,
if you'd like to unmute yourself, you're welcome to.
sure, just the question is would you get a plumbing company versus a like a general contractor to do a bathroom renovation?
So what I would say is, I think it depends on what you need. If the plumbing company does a lot of bathroom renovations, which there are some that do, that could be perfectly fine, and they're gonna handle the tile work. The big advantage, the reason that people come to us is because we hold their hand from design selections all the way through implementation. People don't pay us to install tile or install a vanity. They pay us to remodel their bathroom, a project. So they want somebody who's going to help them pick stuff out. Hey, don't run to Home Depot and we get the $30 faucet that's going to leak in a few months. Like, these are the brands we recommend. Or, hey, I know that code doesn't require you to have a bathroom fan if you have a window, but we always install those and vent them through the roof, and we order better quality ones. So if you need that kind of design, reimagining the space, that's typically where a contractor is going to come into a much better play. Keep in mind that most plumbing companies, they're going to be subbing out a lot of that work, the tile work, the electrical. So the other thing is that separates like the plumbing company from the general contractor is project management. So we have a dedicated project manager. His sole job in life is to run the team and to communicate with you as the customer. The most annoying thing that I could ever hear from a customer is them calling me up going, Lenny, I don't know what's going on my project, or I haven't gotten an update. There's nothing that upsets me more than hearing that. And I am on the phone to my team going, okay, we had a delay here or this. I'm like, why doesn't the customer know that? So that's the other difference you're going to see between those two types of services. Now, if you hire a general contractor and they can't explain their project management, then you're not getting more value for the additional money that you're paying.
Okay.
Stacy,
Yeah, we have about maybe 5 minutes left. If anyone would like to ask a question, what do you think, Doug? We have about 5 minutes left.
Stacy, I know EDA has historically worked with a lot of old buildings as well as maybe new construction.
Mhm.
At what point and here on the main line, where we've got a lot of really old structures, when do you start thinking about major, I don't know what the rehabilitation, in other words, gutting and new electrical, new plumbing, really having to redo things as opposed to patching? How does that come up in your line arena?
Right. So, in a couple of our buildings, a lot of times when we're going in and we're dealing more in commercial. However, a perfect example, we had an apartment building where it was built in the 70s and everything was aluminum wiring. And so we have taken the last, I don't know, I guess it's been maybe 10 years. And as an apartment becomes available, if we can change out wiring, we've been doing that. And mostly it's for safety. So a lot of the things that if someone's buying a home, I say a new home, new to you. So let's say you're buying a historic home, that's something that your inspector is going to go through and look at and see, is the electric up to date? Has it been updated? Same with the plumbing and different things like that. And oftentimes, if you're not sure, you can always hire an electrician to come in and just take a look, or they'll come in and take a look and see what may need to get done to make it safer. And of course, anytime we're doing a renovation, a tenant fit out or things like that, we're always looking at upgrading and bringing everything up to code. And so just what Lenny said, if somebody is coming in and you're doing a brand new kitchen, you really don't want to piecemeal all your electric. You really do want to run um, new wiring and make sure that things are up to code and safe, because those are the little things that can get you in the end, and you have a spark or something not quite right and you get some smoldering and end up with a fire, and that is devastating to a home and to a family. So very important to make sure that it's done properly.
Really, Stacy, good point. Safety first.
Absolutely.
Always safety first. You don't want to cut corners. This was wonderful to have everyone here tonight. In the past, because this is the tip of the iceberg. In the past, the library has done events on decluttering or organizing photos with Darla Damaro, which we love. We love all that, because who doesn't want to be organized? But this is a lot deeper than that, because here we are sitting and talking with yourself and all the other professionals here. We have Dennis, Lenny, and Doug Blasey, when you need a lawyer, I guess, huh, Doug? So this is great. I'd like to thank all of you and our audience here tonight. Thank you. Again, it's the tip of the iceberg, but all the more reason, Doug, I think that we'll have to, here at Radnor Library, partner with the Rotary Club of Wayne. So Doug, thank our panel for us. Thank us.
And we welcome feedback. Let the audience know if they'd like more on this topic or other topics. We'd love to know so we can provide. That's our thought. Thank you.
And really, it's nice. This is that silver lining with COVID, where we can be in a room, and here Lenny's in Virginia and Dennis is in Florida. Stacy, I know, is here in downtown Wayne, and Doug is also a local like myself. And it's just nice that we can all get together and talk about some really important things. And then we know it's just the tip of the iceberg, but it was fun tonight, and time really flies when you start talking about stuff like this.
And if anybody wants to know about Rotary, they can talk to Stacy or me, and we'd love to share what Rotary is about. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. And thanks, Doug, everyone, Stacy,
Thank you
Lenny,
all.
Dennis. It was wonderful. Be safe, everybody. Florida, Virginia.
Yeah.